We're good.
We're having a conversation at the where he's showing high school. I live right not too far away. Yeah. But I didn't but there were never cops there. You would think that they were, but never. That McDonald's is still there right across from the main entrance. I drove by there not too long ago thinking it's probably like up here.
Yes, we do.
If I could entertain a motion to end our meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn
Thank you.
For executive session.
for executive session. Any discussion? Those in favor? Just a little procedural, folks. Okay. Okay, I'd like to call to order Board of Education meeting, March 20th, 2018, 7:30. Our first order will be the Pledge of Allegiance. Greg, would you mind?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And thank you. Okay, at this point, I'll turn over to Mr. Smith, our recognitions.
Thank you, Mr. Lawson. Welcome, everybody. This is the first day of spring, so this is where we switch and recognition starts to grow as festivals and things are underway. I saw Mr. Bohemus and Mr. Gregory and Ms. Beddoes here. We'll start with the CMEA Northern Regional Middle School Music Festival. And so we have some choral students. Ms. Beddoes, do you want to come up and talk about the choral students?
Nah. What would you like to know?
So,
They're adorable.
They are. They did a good job at Northern Regionals.
They did. We had 9 students audition, and 7 of them got in, which was really pretty good average. And they've done a lovely job, and here they are.
So we can call the students up
We can.
and we can recognize their achievement.
We can do that, too.
So first we have Leah Lawson. No relation, right? Be clear.
No relation.
Ms. Beddoes, can you step that way a little? Nice to see you. Thank you. Hi. One more. Thank you.
Next is Kayla Machado. And then we have Lucy McKay. And Tegan Piscura.
Hang on.
Go a little fast.
Thank you. Yay. Thank you.
And Paige Raphael. of speaks here tonight.
Do you want the roll machine? I didn't mean to kick you out. You can stand next to him, and I can go this way. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
All right, we ready?
I'm sorry.
Connor, Sinez?
Thank you.
You must be Cassandra Williams, right? Good job, Cassandra.
Thank you.
Now we're going to move to Scatticook instrumentals. Mr. Polinas, thank you. And Mr. Gregory.
See, that's why I have my name on my shirt.
You want to talk about instrumentals for a minute?
Sure. Oh, thank you. No. Oh, I'm not gonna.
I always loved the idea of the music festival auditions. One thing, because the students volunteer to do it. They have a kind of intrinsic motivation to challenge themselves musically, and both want to experience that and have the ability to work on it pretty much on their own and prepare for an audition. And so these are the students that did that and then were qualified to be part of the middle school musical festival band. And I love that we have 2 6th graders that were able to be accepted into the band that is comprised of all 6th, 7th, and 8th grade people. So the thing I love about music is that it's ability based. Just because some people are older doesn't mean that they have a better chance of getting in than you do as a 6th grader. So I'm really excited to do that.
All right, first we can recognize Miss Irene Chen. Oh, is Irene here? She couldn't make it tonight. We'll clap for Irene. Charles Grenier?
No,
No Charles?
no, but a 6th grader. He's a 7th grader.
We have 2 Charles Greniers? Okay. I'm just going by the list. Help me out.
Right, can we get 6th graders so it's still enough?
Oh, you know what? I don't have them listed. So who's the other 6th grader?
Stella.
Stella? All right, Stella. Good job. So the rest are 7th grade?
Yeah, this is not shocking.
7th and 8th grade.
Yeah.
You can say.
Great.
Absolutely.
So I'm Mr. Gregory. I'm one of the band directors at Scatticook as well. And what I want you guys to do right now is close your eyes and think about what these kids have done. Kids, 11, 12, 13, they prepared a piece of music with some help from myself, Mr. Polhinas, and Ms. Beddoes. They work through this music. Then they go to an audition. They stand in front of 2 people they don't know in a closed room, and they perform this piece of music. They get judged, they get comments, and then they walk out, and they have no idea how anything went until maybe like a day or 2 later. And to me, as a 12, 13-year-old kid, that's amazing. To be able to do that, to be able to take that piece of music, take it and perform it for somebody that they don't know, and then get a rating, and do that at that age is just amazing. So I cannot take any credit for what they do other than just saying, yeah, here, do it. So it's all of them.
All right, so you ready?
Yeah.
That was a good introduction. I hope you get many more of those. The next person on my list, let's see, now is Charles, right? All right, good job. And Madison Jewell. Evan Klimowicz. Riley Malik. Malik. Stella Maliki. We already got you. Yeah. She's the 6th grade.
Rouse.
Ye Young Min.
Stop and smile. There we go.
Alexander Rock. And Kelsey Stewart. All right, we're going to keep rolling right along. We're going to switch from the child stars to the adults that inspire them. So each month we do recognize staff members of the month. These staff members are nominated by people from the community, their peers, students through an anonymous link on the website. And so I'll read you their names. We do one for each school and then one teacher or staff member that's not associated with a specific school. From Northville this month we have Florence. Flo is a lovely custodian and does a great job. She always has a friendly smile and a hearty laugh, and it's a pleasure to have at Northville. Without Flo, our school wouldn't really be the same. So Flo, thank you very much. From Sarah Noble this month is Miss Michelle Klee. I saw her come in here earlier. Michelle is an outstanding teacher and colleague. I learn from her as she shares her strategies and thoughts about curricula. She has very high expectations and really believes in all of her students. If I had a fifth grade student, I couldn't imagine as a parent anything more that I could wish for than my child to be in her class. From New Milford High School is Miss Erin Moriarty. Miss Moriarty has been available and extremely helpful with my children. She's always made the time for them and was able to help them feel at ease. I cannot say enough great things about her. She is someone who definitely should be recognized for her work at New Milford High School. From Scaticoke, maybe a former teammate of mine, was Miss Tracy Nevins. I'd like to nominate Miss Nevins because whenever she walks into the room, it makes me happy to learn in her science class. Mrs. Nevins is the best teacher because she makes learning fun. For our non-school affiliated staff member is Miss Sandra Sullivan. Mrs. Sullivan does a nice job, a great job overseeing the food service department. I appreciate the healthy quality of the food served to the students and the variety each day. And from Hill and Plain, Miss Connie Talaski. Connie truly cares about children. During recess duty, she helps children find friends and solve conflicts. She talks to children and asks about their day or their weekend. She puts children first. Thank you. So each month, as part of this process, each staff member selected picks a star from our magic plate, as it's been called. One of those stars has a little smiley face on the inside, and Ingersoll Auto allows them to drive a new car for the month. So I wish you all luck.
Count off?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do.
What do you guys got, a drum or something?
And open.
Not me.
You do. These are part of this.
Oh, is it? Oh, Angela. That was harsh, Angela.
So and before we break for some celebration, Irene showed up. Irene Chang. So before we break for some refreshments and some celebration, this is Board Appreciation Month. And so the people sitting up here are some of the hardest working volunteers in this town. So we got them a mug to remind you that you're making a difference. So every time, you know, that's it. Make a difference. I can't do the car. There's some like political ethical thing where if they give me a car, you know. But I just want to ask you to help me thank the Board of Ed for the work that they do and the tireless hours they spend helping with our schools. So thank you all very much.
Okay, with that being said, we'll take a short break, and we'll reconvene in approximately 5 minutes.
Really?
Hey, remember when you did this?
I wanted to say hi to Connie.
So it makes him look older. He really does. From working in the Sunday.
No, he really does tell.
Oh, they're gonna take their pictures over there. Oh, no, there it is. We're missing it. Oh, Glenn's got it. I'll send it to you. I'll tell Glenn to send it to you. Yes, please. I'll tell Glenn to send it to you. Well, he's gotta get up at 2:20, so he can't wait to get out. He's like, oh, 5-minute break?
Yeah, I thought they were going to say like 15. I was happy.
So I took all those pictures. The only one that came out good was when I did This is that. That came out beautiful. The rest of the pictures are
Actually was in high school a couple days ago, and I was like, wow, it's even better than a couple of years ago. Amazing.
I'll look forward to telling him I saw you.
Amazing. My class in Scottico too, and Northville too, come to think of it. But no, it's just, I've been on this board for 15 years, so it's,
Well, I know you've been as long as I've been, so it's was 4 years before I got here.
yeah, it's really, it's so challenging. I know you don't get much in USDA.
Nice to see you and congratulations.
Thank you. The kids, when you come in to submission rates, they throw you a little extra money, so which is good. So
But it's not that easy.
no, and it's not, so it's good, but
Who would come by for lunch now?
well, you know what, please do. Yeah, all right, let me know when you're coming, all right? Okay.
Is all over me. I'm on the 13th email and second text to it.
I said either way, we're ready.
And the table's still on. I was sweating.
Over prepared. The way we stayed, we put the seat numbers, the rosters were up this morning, so. It's me, it's not really. Cycle through that on Saturdays. We want you guys to work your stuff at the end of the Tuesday on Saturday. I don't want to. Yeah, Really? Oh, state test?
Yeah, no problem. Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
Well, that's the word about you, David. David, yeah, say that over. Yeah, you did. Yeah, it's good. JT,
We got JT? Who are
I
we
don't
missing?
know. He's over there talking.
Thank you, everybody. Mr. Shem?
Calling JT.
You shamed him. You've been shamed. What is his name?
Okay. Mrs. Lewis, we saw you earlier. Please, the PTO report? Oh, I missed it, didn't I? Thank you. In lieu of that, public comment.
Yes, we have Mrs. Megan Bird.
So good evening, everybody. Megan Bird at 2 Carlson Road. And I'm kind of going off the cuff tonight. I didn't prepare comments because I feel I speak better when I don't. But first, I need to thank every one of you and the administrators in this town who worked so diligently to put together a budget that was both fiscally responsible and took care of our students. I was devastated by the town council's decision to remove the 1.4 increase, $1 million increase, and I did not take that lightly. We have started a group, for those of you who don't know, I'm sure many of you do know already, a parent and citizen group to fight this. And I want you to know that we're sticking up for you and all your hard work, and that we will do our best to try and get as much of that back into the budget before it goes to referendum as possible, because I truly believe that our kids deserve better than this. They're the future of our community, and they deserve to have a quality education. And I know that you all thought of that while you worked diligently to prepare the budget, so thank you. I couldn't have had a better night to give a justification for why we have such a great school system. Those kids, 12 and 13-year-olds, so inspiring. All of our programs important. There's no program that we can cut that won't affect a large population of our students. If we cut arts, every single one of those students is going to be devastated. If we cut sports, there's another contingent that's going to be devastated. And then what's left? Our actual curriculum and our actual core programs, besides staff. It's going to devastate this community if we don't get some of that money back in. And I want you all to know that we're fighting to do that. As of a few moments ago, we had 220 signatures on a petition that's online only right now. I will be going out in the community and trying to get some hard copy signatures as well to reinstate that money. I spoke at the Board of Finance meeting this past week, and I had about 20 to 25 people there with me and standing up for us as well on one day's notice. I'm very confident that we will have I'm hopeful that we'll have a couple hundred people at the budget hearings standing up for this, if not more. So I wanted you all to know that it exists. If any of you want more information, I'll stay the entire meeting. Happy to talk to anybody after the meeting. But I feel strongly about this, as do on their Facebook page, 780 members already, and it's been up less than a week. So there are people in this community who recognize all of your hard work and all of our school administrators and teachers. And I was so thrilled to see a facilities person be recognized, because every school I've been at, I've felt that dearly about the facilities people that are there. I ran into Hill and Plains, who's now moved to the high school, and out in the public, and basically walked up to him and gave him a giant hug, because he means that much to the students there, or did when he was at Hill and Plain. So they all are very special. It doesn't matter what you do in the building, you touch our students, and it's important that we keep as many people as possible. So thank you.
And is there anybody else that would care to comment at this time? Yes, sir.
Name here. Ladies and gentlemen of the board, ladies and gentlemen in attendance, my name is Joe Puglisi. I'm a resident here in New Milford and a father of two young children, 2 and 4, who are soon going to be in your gracious care in the school system. And there's been a lot of warm and fuzzies here tonight, and I hate to bring in a little bit of hard fact reality, but unfortunately there's a lot of hard fact reality we have to deal with. And there's 2 things that I don't scare easily. I'm petrified of sending my children to public school, however. And I believe working together that we can alleviate this fear that I have, and legitimate fear that a lot of parents and faculty and many of yourselves probably have as well. I don't just fear for my children, I fear for everyone's children, and I fear for you guys that work in the schools every day. I went to school in New Milford High School. I went to school in the Milford school system my whole life, and it was a good experience. And I never had anything really to fear like we do today. So it's hard for me to even understand or contemplate what goes on through someone's heads today when they walk through the doors of a school. What I'm driving at is the recent trend of violence within schools and the ease at which it seems that violence can take place in a school. I feel that there's things that can be done very simply if we just want to face fact and reality that we have a problem to deal with. And anyone that can walk into a school facility, a public building, with a 3-foot, 7-pound, ominous profile rifle, there's a serious problem. You can't walk into a music concert with that. It's not happening. You're checked Everyone's checked. You can't go into a bank like that. It's not happening. There's precious resources in these buildings, and that's why you're not getting in with that. And obviously, we have very precious resources, as we saw here today, and multiple examples of them right before our eyes that we don't need to be putting at risk any longer so that we could say that, well, we shouldn't have to deal with this problem. We shouldn't have to deal with cancer, but unfortunately, cancer's not going anywhere, okay? And neither are the problems that we're seeing in our schools. We could point our fingers to a million different reasons as to why this stuff happens. Some of it, I think, is that our tendency is to be emotional and blame inanimate objects for the actions of people because we don't want to accept to ourselves that our children are capable of doing these terrible, horrible acts, but they are. And when we pawn it off and we allow blame to be placed on, if I was just starting to watch coverage of what just happened down in Florida a month ago without getting into detail, I would think that a man or a woman named the NRA had gone into the building and senselessly murdered kids. Okay, I wouldn't think that a child who I can't even tell you his name anymore because you don't hear it. You hear everything else. There's no blame on the actual perpetrator of the crime, who should be looked at as the lowest piece of fecal matter ever excreted. Because if we look at a person that way and we make it known to people, in the future, I think that people might think twice that this isn't an acceptable means of expressing yourself, an acceptable means of vindictive behavior or letting someone know that you're upset, obviously. And I think that if people are looked at as they should be when they do this, they'll be less likely to do it. But we throw up our hands, we make an excuse, and we point the guns. Another thing, so I'd like to be able to, basically I want to introduce myself tonight and let you know that I want to have good open dialogue about real security in our schools, not feeling safe. I want real safety, because my kid feeling safe and being safe are two completely, totally different things. And I think any person with a square head on their shoulders can realize that and deduce that. I also would like to express my extreme disappointment and grave concern about the fact that our schools, which are a product of support from the entire community, and not just from one facet of the community, were allowed to be used to push a political agenda, a partisan political agenda. Empower.org is a very well-known political action group, and it is very well known that it is a partisan political action group. It's a progressive action group, okay? I understand the feeling and the need to remorse and for kids to come together after some senseless action like this takes place. It hurts everybody. It causes pain, it causes discomfort, and it has to be dealt with in a good manner. Now, selling something as a memorial, or having a memorial, 17 minutes where every kid maybe writes a letter to their senator about how they feel about this, or 17 minutes where everyone is quiet together and in unity across the country to remember these kids is one thing. But 17 minutes of holding signs outside, like I saw at Danbury High School anyway, and having the orange empower.org shirts, knowing full well that we're talking about an anti-gun rally here against something that is a deep, deep-seated, divisive topic in this country, I think causes children to be forced into two separate groups. I think it's divisive behavior. I think it's irresponsible behavior to do in our schools. And I don't think it's fair to any of the kids, to be honest. I think a lot of the kids ended up, maybe not necessarily in this building, but a lot of the kids ended up being used as pawns. It's not an environment that I want to send my son or my daughter into. And I ask to work with you to be assured that we're never going to have political action groups stick their noses into our schools ever again. It's not the time or place. It's a matter of decency and respect for the people that go to the school. And the fact that it was allowed to happen is shameful. And I don't think that it should ever happen again. I wrote a little op-ed the night before the walkout. And I'd like to read it to you now, if I may. I said, tonight I go to bed worried about a nation that has now accepted and seemingly even endorsed the use of public school grounds as a place to practice activism towards political action. No matter what the reason or how strongly someone may feel about an issue, a public school, which is representative of the entire community's support and not just one portion of the community, is not the place to demonstrate passion toward a political solution that some see fit. In each school that a movement takes place, grassroots or not, it is certain that a percentage of students will not agree with the position of the movement on campus. These students would be subject to an uncomfortable and intellectually hostile environment for which the public has sent them to learn. I do not make reference to college campuses where tuition is paid or even private prep schools. I am talking about public schools where we constantly fight for every student to be welcome and accepted. To me, political or grassroots activism on public campuses is divisive and dangerous behavior. Though many may support with great passion and emotion the movement scheduled to take place tomorrow in our public schools, I ask those in favor of this activism to consider the precedents that this action will set and be prepared to allow activism in favor of such things as the pro-life movement in your schools or campus. If we are allowed to demonstrate on campus in favor for one ideal, we must allow the demonstration of support for other ideals as well, no matter how grotesque they may seem to us, or risk the marginalization and discrimination of certain portions of the student body. This sort of discriminatory environment, cannot be conducive to learning or the cohesiveness of the student body and fosters not only a dangerously divisive school environment, but a divided generation. I support these kids' right fully, and their passion and their drive to do something that they believe in. God bless them all. I also deeply believe that every student has the right to go to school tomorrow comfortably, not just those who believe in the movement. Public schools are not the place for this sort of thing. I don't care what the topic of the movement may be or how much someone hurts. School is not the responsible place for activism of any type. It should be taken to the streets and not to the classroom. And I stand behind that 100%, no matter what it is. You know, if you want to know what my position is, I'm a Second Amendment guy. I believe in my right to protect my family from those idiots out there who are causing trouble. Okay? I don't believe in anyone's right to feel anything, to feel safe. You don't have a right to feel. You have a right to do and to protect. And I also don't believe in a bill of needs. I believe in a bill of rights. Okay? Whether we need an AR-15 or not is nobody's business. It's a right, just like the right to an education. So if we could work together and stop going right to the fences as soon as something like this happens, look at the real issues, maybe we can get somewhere and create an environment where we can assure there will be no political action in our schools, because it's not the place. It really is not. And I'd like to think we could agree on that right off the bat. And that we can work on making our schools actually physically safer, for real, instead of feeling that way. So
Thank you.
I would love to participate any way that I possibly can, and I plan on being an active member in this. As my kids are going to be going to school, I should be paying attention and watching what you guys are up to. So you're going to get to know me. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other public participation? Okay, back to the PTO. Mrs. Lewis, please. See, you should have gone then.
You should have jumped. Good evening. Recently, it feels like we have had more snow days than school days. I'm encouraging the PTO presidents to work with the building principals to brainstorm some fun ideas to make June a little bit more bearable for staff and students. If you have any ideas, please let us know. The Sarah Noble Science Fair was a huge success with over 100 kids participating, with another 20 or so who came just to see and do things. We are hoping that the younger students will be able to hold their fair tomorrow night, but if not, the snow date will be this Thursday, same time, same place, or the following Monday. The 7th and 8th grade dance was so successful that the Scatico PTO is hosting a 6th grade glow dance on April 6th. The high school PTO is experimenting with all different types of fundraisers. Next month, they will host a movie night at Bank Street with a viewing of Overboard. Northville is hosting their March Madness this Friday. This is one of their biggest events that is held every other year. The evening includes a silent auction, raffles, and kid activities. I hear there are some great silent auction items if you want to stop by the school to participate in this great experience. Our April Spirit theme is Character Day. Thank you.
Thank you. Gregory.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening.
Start off, next Wednesday, the ADL will be coming to New Milford High School to hold a training for selected students who will be helping facilitate a new program, joining the NAMES program we offer at New Milford High School, The Truth About Hate, which will be taking place on April 3rd for juniors. The Math Honor Society is currently holding a Green Wave logo water bottle and travel mug fundraiser where we help raise some money for senior scholarships, so if anyone's interested, you can see me. On March 14th this year, worked out nicely, the Math Honor Society also held our Pi Day Carnival 3.14, where many different games are played in the athletic hall, including can jam, pie eating contest, and even pieing teachers and administrators in the face. The FBLA...
No board members though, right?
What's that?
No board members though, right?
Maybe next year.
That's a big fundraiser.
On that same day, the FBLA held their annual dodgeball tournament in the arena hallway as well, so you can just say that was a fun afternoon in the hallway. It always is every year. The FBLA also on March 16th, which is a Friday night, held, I know this is very popular, I didn't get to attend, but the New Milford High School faculty versus police department basketball game. So it was a huge sellout. The faculty, accompanied by Mr. Best, Mr. Boothby, all your favorites, did pull a win over the police department.
Wow.
And also that night, there was an opportunity for one lucky senior to win a $500 scholarship by shooting basketball hoops in a certain time frame. And that winner was Michaela Flynn this year. So congratulations to her. Also, the juniors are planned to take their SAT tomorrow, but Mr. Smith will have to decide if that happens or not.
No pressure. No pressure.
And as many of you know, the musical is really starting to ramp up, and that's why my colleague Elizabeth is not here tonight. So this Friday, there's a preview going on during school hours for classes and students to get a taste of. And then performances, I'll just list really quickly, is March 23rd at 7 and March 24th at 7, March 25th at 3, April 6th at 7, and April 7th at 2 and 7. So if you can, make one of those, that would be great. And lastly, as many of you know, on March 14th, 1 month following the tragedy in Parkland, Florida, a non-political optional assembly was offered to New Milford High School students to share a moment of silence for the lives tragically lost. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Okay, and we'll move on to approval of minutes. I need a motion to approve the following Board of Education minutes, special meeting minutes, February 27th, 2018.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Those in favor? And that's unanimous. Thank you. I need a motion to approve the following Board of Education minutes. Regular meeting minutes, February 27th, 2018, as amended to reflect 2.5% tuition increase in Sherman contract.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Those in favor? And thank you. And the superintendent's report.
So it's, I think Ms. Sullivan left already, but it's my pleasure to report that the health inspection is complete for the 17-18 school year. This was it's done 3 times a year. This was occurrence 2 of 3, and all schools received a 99 or 100. So good job to Ms. Sullivan and her team. We appreciate that. And last night, we had a safety meeting in town. I didn't talk to the press this morning, but I think the crowd was, maybe around 75 to 100. It was a pretty big crowd in the Sarah Noble Auditorium. I want to thank the board members. They were able to attend last night. That presentation will be posted on our website, along with any questions that came in during last night's meeting. And a video of that meeting will also be posted probably by the end of the week on the website. So I want to thank all the support from the community, and I hope that we had a pretty positive conversation about keeping our schools safe.
Okay, thank you. And moving on to the chairman's report.
All for joining us today. We want to share with you
Last week, our Our team met with the mayor to specifically speak about health insurance. What we decided, well, we didn't decide anything, I take that back. We have a follow-up appointment coming up on the 22nd of this month to look at our insurance and perhaps if there's any movement in solid numbers that we can look at as far as that's concerned. If there is anything either way on that, we'll certainly let you know as soon as we can. Also, Greg alluded to it. I too attended the optional assembly last week, and it was quite remarkable how they expressed their anxieties and frustrations, and also remembered those that had fallen by a single chime on the bell. And I thought they were very respectful, and it well, went very fast, but and that's what we're at there. Okay, moving on from there to the committee and liaison reports. Mr. McCauley, Brian, facilities.
Well, we got snowed out.
Seems to be a theme. Seems to be a theme.
Yeah, I can't say I was, but anyway. Well, I'm on the microphone. But there were a lot of rich items on the agenda that will come back next month, some that will be discussed quite a bit by this board. Of those topics, the thermal roof scan that just, a report that just came out, that is going to be, I think, a lot of heavy discussion. And also the capital 5-year plan was slated to be discussed. And so what we missed last week will be coming back and should provide a lot of rich discussion.
Okay, thank you. Wendy, operations?
Yes, as you heard, Mr. McCullough canceled facilities and operations, so we appreciate that. We've snowed out. So normally the reports brought to operations and the personnel piece and the donations and things of that nature you'll see here tonight at the full board for first review and approval, hopefully.
Okay, thank you. JT, policy?
Well, evidently, policy subcommittee picked the right Tuesday to have a meeting. And what you'll see on tonight's agenda, there's actually 2 policies for approval. One is coming back for final approval, and a second is on there just one time, and it's, again, for initial and final approval. That's statewide mastery examinations, so it's fitting that, tomorrow is Connecticut SAT Day. Part of the language that was changed in this is, again, statutory. There was still language that was from our previous meeting, but we wanted legal to take a look at it. There was reference to CAPT. CAPT is no longer a test we give in district. So some of the language has been changed to include smarter balance. We don't use CMT anymore, but smarter balance. Connecticut SAT, the 11th grade test, and also NGSS. So you'll see that for approval. Interesting little fun fact here, Regulation 5125. It's actually a regulation. I did not know this. But it's a regulation that is not tied to a specific policy. But it does deal with student education records. And big revision there, you'll see in the policy minutes, pretty lengthy regulation by which the district can follow for educational records. And to find out some of those records have to be kept for 50 years. And that was, so we delved into that quite a bit. And Mr. Smith promised us a records audit to kind of capture where and what form a lot of these records live in, and to be able to bring that back, I would assume, to the policy subcommittee for us to discuss too. And just to, one of the questions we had asked was, as far as a legal perspective, how long do we have to keep some of these records? Some of that is set out by statute, that we have to keep them for a certain length, but also that we have pretty clear guidelines as to what records are kept for what length and what file, CUME files. There's a whole bunch of layers of what records are where. So I'm looking forward to that audit, just to kind of understand where and when, or where and what form a lot of these are in. Are they digital? Are they paper? That kind of stuff. Also, we discussed 1322 contest for students. Again, something to keep in mind while there's great opportunities for us to partner with community organizations. We also don't want to put an undue burden on our district to run some of those contests from these outside organizations. So I think it's just important to note that we had a rich discussion on that, but again, kind of go back that we're not putting that burden on our district. So again, to kind of recap, tonight's agenda, you'll see distribution of materials to and by students, 1140, and then statewide mastery exam, 6146.2. And again, those will be those four for approval. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. And Committee on Learning. Tammy?
Okay, Committee on Learning did take place. I think we missed the snow day by 1 day, so we got it in. We discussed, and the following curriculum will be on tonight's agenda for approval, AP Human Geography and AP Environmental Science. Both of those curriculums are new. And AP US History was revised. We also, the College Board framework was embedded into these curriculum, and it was very interesting presentations from those teachers who did present them. So we do thank them for their help in writing this curriculum. Alicia, if you could pass that along, because I know a lot of work goes into them, and it's very good to see the great work that we're doing with developing curriculum and revising curriculum. We also had a wonderful presentation about kindergarten registration process and the changes that have taken place this year. After consulting with building administrators, a social emotional consultant, and current kindergarten teachers, they decided to revamp the way that kindergarten registration is done. The event took place about a month earlier with the hope to, first of all, capture numbers, but also to make it more of a flow in trying to get some of these parents and these kids into the school sooner. And then to also address any enrollment concerns that we think we might be having. Right now, the head counts from those registrations, and I'm sure we've had some additional trickle in since then. NES had 119 students registered. They had 130 projected. And HPS, Hill and Plain, had 80 show up, and they had 139 projected. The kindergarten orientation dates are going to be for Northville, April 2nd, 3rd, and 5th, and at Hill and Plain, May 26th and 28th. And what's really wonderful about the orientation is that it's becoming very interactive for our students. In the past, I don't think we've really brought students into our schools before school started. Now they are going to come in, they're going to be able to see a kindergarten class taking place in live time with the teachers. They're going to be able to meet the principal. They're going to be able to ride the bus with their parents, albeit a short little trip. They're going to be able to do that, and that will alleviate some anxieties that students have about coming to a school for the first time. What is the bus going to be like? What is my teacher going to be like? What is my principal going to be like? And so I really commend you guys for doing this. I think it's going to be really wonderful for the students and the families, because a lot of families do have anxiety, especially when they're sending little ones to school for the first time. So we're very excited about that. The Connecticut Community Foundation grant is going to provide gift bags for the kids. And if I do remember correctly, the principals or the teachers are going to sign a book. The principals. The principals are going to sign a book that's going to be given to each child. Mrs. Bindergarten goes to kindergarten. Is that the one? Yes. Yep, I remember my kids got that. And so therefore they'll have a little book to read over the summer signed by their principal, which will be a nice little keepsake, so that's very exciting. So again, it's nice that we're becoming more interactive, and I do believe that we'll revamp it further and maybe move that date up in the future a little bit earlier. But it was a great presentation. Thank you very much, Mr. Corpo, and to the entire team for working on that. I think they're wonderful changes. Pass that on. Thank you.
Okay, at Advance, Brian?
I was unable to attend the last meeting, and so I don't have a report for this week, and I apologize.
Accepted. That didn't come out right, but.
You are forgiven.
And CABE. With CABE, CABE is presently working on a framework for policies dealing with the new state mandated law to provide alternative education for expelled students. So that'll be coming over to the policy committee, I would assume, pretty soon. I'm sure, Mr. Smith, your office will be receiving that as soon as they have a final copy. And negotiations.
Negotiation team began their first meeting with for the secretarial bargaining unit. And so we'll continue on and bring you updates.
Okay, thank you. And magnet school, Eileen?
Magnet school, okay. I left teaching in 1989, so magnet schools were a concept that I didn't have. So I was very pleased to join Josh and Tammy on a tour of the Western Connecticut Academy for International Studies in Danbury. So I just have some reflections since it's new to me. Architecturally, the school is really pretty. It's a really nice looking school, inside, outside, and I was very impressed driving up. The hallways reflect the continents. The African hallway had tremendous African art leaning up against the wall. Big stuff, very, very well done. There was a lot of high energy in the classroom and the hallways. The hallways had both international artwork done by the students and a lot of personal growth messages like we have in our schools here, such as it starts with hello. They had those bulletin boards up. It's international because they integrate Spanish from K to 5, Spanish immersion. There's 430 students. The student-teacher ratio is 17-1. Their proficiency in math, which is interesting, 53%. Their proficiency in reading is 75%. So, and they rank 220 out of 577 schools in Connecticut. The teachers rank 303 out of 580 teachers rankings. 60% of the students are from Danbury, and they have a lottery there. And of course, it's very competitive in Danbury, and I thought it was very amusing that the school itself does not do anything with the lottery. If little Jimmy didn't get into the school, they refer them to the central office who runs the lottery program. So, and contractually, New Milford has 18 slots, 17 are occupied. The students usually start in kindergarten, and very few transfer in and out because it's really a kind of short time period, K through 5. So New Milford pays $1,200 per slot, whether we use them or not. And the state, of course, is supposed to pick up the difference. And of course, every year that's gone down and been cut. So, and New Milford pays for the transportation for a meeting point in town. The principal is new this year. He seemed very energetic and well qualified for a diverse kind of school that he's running. And there's 2 meetings a year, one in from all the districts that support the school, and one in the spring, which I'm not sure sounded like that was going to happen, but there was definitely one in the fall coming up. So, and my favorite thing I saw there was a male teacher in a first grade class, which I think is tremendous to have. So, male role models early on.
Thank you.
So,
And we'll move on to the discussion and possible action portion. I need a motion to approve Exhibit A, personnel certified, non-certified appointments, resignations, and leaves of absence as of March 20th, 2018.
So moved.
I'll second it. Any discussion? Yes.
Coaching positions, are we all set on that?
We are. We have a couple. We'll probably now see 1 or 2 more trickle through, but yes.
For the
pretty
next
much.
meeting? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Those in favor? Thank you. Okay, monthly reports. I need a motion to approve monthly reports, budget position dated February 28th, 2018, purchase resolution D-708, and request for budget transfers.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I have a question.
Tammy?
On the budget transfer requests, the purchase of walkie-talkies is taken out of, and if I'm incorrect on this, please forgive me and correct me, from Northville Science, Math, and General Education, and then moved to General Education. How do we decide to take from the academics for something that is more supply-driven?
Sure. So at this point in the year, most of the materials that they purchased for that, they already have. And so either through lower enrollment or for a number of reasons, some of those materials they didn't purchase. And so what they then do, and this is the time of the year we do that, is are there other needs the building has that are not, that were not met? In this case, and we talked a little bit about it last night at the safety meeting, the walkie-talkies in several of the schools are dated, and they're trying to upgrade their walkie-talkies so that they have a longer range and are more reliable. And so Northville, and this, we've gone through our accounts, we've asked them to prioritize. We do have a kind of a soft freeze on right now as we look to meet the hole the state created for us this budget year. And so every purchase that's being made does get looked at by Mr. Giovanone, myself, Mr. Corpo, principals, and when we decide to do that, it's really for a need. We decided that these walkie-talkies are a security and safety need, And so that's why that transfer is being made.
And otherwise, those monies for science, math, and would not have been used?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And those walkie-talkies are for Northville?
Yes.
Okay. And just one other quick question on the same exact note, all the way at the bottom of the page.
Budget transfers?
The same budget
Okay.
transfers, yep. The purchase of psychology testing materials taken from art and moved to psych. And I know that art supplies are constantly wanted, so I'm just kind of wondering why we did that.
So again, this is the time of year where the accounts are being kind of squeezed down. What's left? What do you need? I would say the art supplies at Scotticoke are robust. We actually have done quite a bit of reorganizing of art supplies. We had a new art teacher go there this year that did an audit. They have quite a bit of supplies. I don't think they're short anything, and so that psychology testing material is needed. The schools try to work within their own budgets, and so that $100, the bottom part of this is an information part. We report this, but it's not part of the motion. The top part is part of the motion, but that or the transfer across major object codes. That's right.
And it, just so that I also have a full understanding, who makes these decisions? Is it the school saying, is the school coming to you and saying, we need this, we would like to take it from here? Or, I mean, how is that broached to make sure that these other areas aren't feeling like they are having their funds taken?
So it depends a little bit. So facilities is a little different, I would say, but all of the school transfers are most often, it would be rare for someone outside of the school administration or the teachers in that school to generate a need and a transfer. So most of the time, those transfers, all of the transfers within schools come from the building principal. Mrs. Murray was here earlier, but Dr. Longo, that would, and he could speak to it if you want, but really the psychologist would say we're going to be short testing materials, or I need testing materials, and then it would be up for the principal to look at what accounts they have available to them, what's left in those accounts, and then to determine whether or not the funds that they have in those accounts are needed by those departments or if they can be transferred. Then that triggers a conversation, usually with the finance department.
And I'm hoping the department that the money will be taken from is to make sure that they don't have something that's on the radar.
That's correct.
For that, okay.
And then, if it's curriculum-based, they talk to Mr. Corpo. If it's financial-based, if it's technology-based, they would have a kind of corresponding conversation.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate it.
Yes.
Just a couple of quick questions. On the purchase resolution, for example, the first item out of 56,110, it's really a $36,000 expenditure, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so a portion's being paid by the grant, as indicated, it's being paid for by a grant, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Is there any way, and we don't, if it's, can we put an asterisk next to grant so we know that it's funded, that we know it's a little bit more recognizable? I can do it on my own, I just didn't know. It just gives it a little bit more. Okay. And I just have a couple of.
Yeah, go right ahead.
My other question is, and I can wait until we get to items of information on 11C, the revenue shortfall that we're expected, based on a memo dated March 15th, that's not reflected in this overall report.
Correct.
Correct. So it'll come about next month, that'll be posted.
Yes.
Correct? When Mr. Smith was referring to the shortfall that we're trying to work up with the town by the end of this year, it needs to be noted that we have approximately $200,000 less that we are expecting.
Yes.
That number can move, but, that's where we are right now. And so next month's report will show that. So I'll be clear on that.
Yes, sir.
Just to the excess cost piece, and Anthony, I see that the budget position is dated 2/28, right?
Mhm.
Have we since received that excess cost?
Yes.
Yes.
And what is that amount?
The amount that we received on the first payment.
376,913?
Correct.
Okay. 276,913. All right.
And we do get another payment.
Oh, understood, but usually that's
It's
75%
gonna be
of the
less,
payment.
yes, yes.
So
Right.
if that's the bulk of 3/4 of the payment.
Correct.
So then that gives us an indication.
That's right.
That we're gonna be short.
Right, okay. One other, just clarification question here. I see in, for snow removal, I'm curious where that lives for salaries. Is it under maintenance here, for custodial, or is it a mix of the two with overtime and
It's a
whatnot?
mix of several lines because it
Okay.
depends on that snow removal, whether it is on overtime or whether it's during regular salaried hours, and whether we bring them in slightly early, whether we keep them late. So there's several moving lines that would be from.
So am I right in assuming it might be custodial, might be in maintenance, might actually be outside of like contracted services, professional services, or no?
Those,
Just
yep,
those two
those two.
salaries.
So if you're right.
So, my question would just be, how are we tracking on that? Because I see that, we're about encumbered, right? We have quite a bit of encumbrances there too, which is, I'm assuming that's not for snow, but that's for salaries. Right. But how are we tracking there? Are we going to meet that, or are we gonna, are we
At this
gonna
point, we
change
do
our
not
prices
expect to overcome the remaining balance on overtime for snow removal. We'll have an analysis probably, for operations in April when we have kind of a full picture and we can compare. We do track each month, year to year, the amount of overtime we use, both for custodian and maintenance versus the total. And so, that piece we'll have once, hopefully by the April operations, snow will be behind us. The good news is, we've had a ton of snow days, but we've also been able to work within a lot of contractual hours for snow removal. And we're not doing a lot of like Sunday night snow removal.
Right. So, the fact that we've had as many storms as we had, and to see those healthy balances there is a good sign. So, thank you.
Anything further? Those in favor? And that's unanimous. Thank you. Gifts and donations. Need a motion to accept gifts and donations to PTO Exhibit B in the amount of $15,927 for the variety of activities that they have listed on your exhibit.
So moved.
Second. Any discussion?
Other than a great big thank you to the PTOs, it's an exceptional amount of money that they make, and it's really needed, especially in these times, so.
Okay. Those in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Policies for approval. Need a motion to approve the following policies. 1140, distribution of materials to and by students, parentheses, use of students, parentheses closed. 2, 6146.2, statewide mastery examinations.
So moved.
A second.
Any discussion? Thank you, Policy Committee, for clarifying that. I know. Thank you. And those in favor? And thank you. Okay, curricula. I need a motion to approve the following curricula: AP Human Geography, AP Environmental Science, and AP US History.
So moved. Second.
And any discussion? Yes, ma'am.
So there's 2 new AP classes, is that correct? Is that what I understood Tammy to say?
Yeah.
Mhm.
How is the need for those determined over other classes?
I believe those were approved
That was a while
last
ago.
fall.
Yeah.
And then this is the curriculum to meet the approval of those classes.
Okay, so I just want to say again.
The question's still valid.
This question's still valid, it
Yeah.
is still valid, but I also want to say again, because I do remember these now that you say that, I really want to see some classes come forward that are not for AP students. Not every student we have is an AP student, and I think we really need to beef up some of our non-AP classes. And I say that from practical experience, because just last week I had a meeting at the high school, and students are scrambling to find classes because there really aren't enough options if you're not an AP student. So I think we really need to be cognizant of that going forward.
Thank you. Those in favor? And thank you.
Yeah, another says I remember that.
Okay, capital 5-year plan. Technology and Facilities. I need a motion to approve the capital 5-year plan, technology and facilities.
So moved.
Seconded?
Any discussion? Yes.
We always approve the capital plans, that's great, but help me understand this. This is, we're looking at the 18-19 column, this is what's in our budget, correct?
18-19 column is in our budget for next year,
So it
correct?
has the 322.
That's correct.
So what has changed off of this that we're approving that might be in our budget book?
So I don't believe there's been any changes since the budget book.
So would one say that this is just a separate motion that we always do, that when we approve the budget, weren't we in theory approving the capital plan?
So, yes, however, we've always had it as
I
a separate
agree.
standard.
Oh,
Yes.
I prefer that, actually, so I'm just,
Yep.
I don't want anyone, I struggle with this. I will support the motion, but I want to go on record by saying that some of these expenditures I just don't agree with. I think it's a fluid document. I think we're going to have to move things around, and that's the only reason I will take a look at it, because I think that we normally do approve this, and I do want it to be a separate approval. However, I think in light of, first of all, we have had a conversation regarding oil tanks. It's not on here.
Correct.
Okay, so I want to call that to everyone's attention, not that we're going to go that way, but there are some things this document can, and in my opinion, should change. And based with the financial challenges that we have, I think we really do need to take a look at it. But I just want to be very clear that I'll support the motion, but I'm going to be looking personally to move some things around.
I would say that in addition to this, one of the things that's not on and has historically not been on our 5-year plan are items that would be considered too big for capital reserve and that should be bonded. Next week, Mr. Monrette and I will meet with the town facilities about adding kind of a separate box onto the bottom of that 5-year plan that would be more for projects that would qualify for a municipal bond, things like roofs. So roofs have never been on our 5-year plan. It's our recommendation that we have some type of working document, both town and schools combined, for large-scale municipal projects. And so I hope that when you see this next, there'll be a carve-out underneath that captures those types of projects.
Well, I was wanted to interject first, and one of the things with not just this document here, but with the 5-year plan in general, yes, it's always been fluid, and we know that, and things have changed and transferred in or deleted, and sometimes even added. But yeah, go ahead.
Well, on that, we're having a discussion about, closing this year's budget challenges. Obviously, there'll be a discussion on what's going on for 18-19. And I think we need to prepare ourselves that things on the 18-19 column are going to have to be rearranged.
Well, yes, I think we'll find a lot of rearranging throughout the whole budget.
But the fact that we're accepting this document, the public may not be aware that this moves. And I think that they should be.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Just a point of clarification, and pardon my ignorance on this. Is there a threshold by which we need to define an item as capital?
No.
What I mean by that is a monetary value?
Capital for, in our budget, or for capital reserve?
Just in general, for something to be captured as a capital item or expense.
Versus in the operational
Is it
budget.
$1,000? Is it $5,000? Is it,
Are you talking about, for example, in our budget, where it's, let's say, a couple of tables in the operational capital portion of it, or are you talking about the capital plan?
I'm thinking more of the capital plan.
Or are you talking about long-term bonding?
Or is there, is there an actuarial piece where it say, okay, well, $10,000 and higher would be something that would be capital if it's durable, if it lives on, right? Or is it $1,000 if it's something that lives on? I'm just wondering, what is the monetary threshold by which we would say, you know what, that's capital, or it's $1,000, no, that's actually would live in operations?
Well, I appreciate your quantitativeness, but, again, it's more, is it a one-time deal? Okay, is it going to be something replaced? So it's things like that you're looked at in total.
Sure.
And certainly with the big ticket items, and I think it was brought up earlier too, that the route that we may want to explore would be going in with the town for bonding. And that could bring down the price of something that we would normally bond. Let's say our threshold used to be perhaps $1 million, but if you go in with the town, a bond could be as low as 100,000 if it's included.
Right, that's what
with
Joe was saying,
something
like
else,
bundling
which is
that to
exactly
make it a
what
bondable
Joe was
type of
saying.
expense. I see.
So that kind of changes the whole dynamic.
So that's almost like that third tier that Mr. Smith is talking about,
Right,
right?
so that's kind of,
Operations, there's capital, and then there's
Yeah.
super capital, which is, super mega.
right,
Okay.
Like super.
All right, thank you for that.
yes.
I just want to echo what Wendy had said. There are many things on here I think need to be moved around, reduced, removed. And I spoke at length about it in the budget hearings, and I will not be supporting this.
Thank you. Okay, those in favor? And opposed? Thank you. Okay, items for information and discussion. Field trip report. Any questions?
I just want to say that the Ridgefield Playhouse contacted us today to say that due to weather, they're canceling the event that Hill and Plain was going to, and they've moved it to April 23rd. So I just want to make the board aware of that. The Sullivan Farm Pratt trip, if there is inclement weather and they don't attend, we'll reschedule that, and I'll get that date back to you once I have it.
Okay, thank you. Be a great day for snowshoeing, though.
Yeah.
Just saying. Okay, fuel tanks.
So I can update you, we have contacted the town. They also have fuel tanks that need to be replaced, and so we're in the process of amending our bid document so that we'll go out as a combined municipality for all oil tank projects. Again, this is to get a price estimate and to find out the scope of work needed. The RFP that goes out will break out each project individually so that we can have individual conversations and then have conversation about economies of scale. So we're waiting right now for some details on the town side, and then that bid will be posted.
Yeah.
How many on the town side are we
I believe
looking
there's
at?
two, correct? Three? Three.
And was there time frame similar to ours?
It is now.
Okay.
As far as actual replacement, I don't know that they have I'm looking at Mr. Monrep, but I don't
understand.
think they have them all, when they have to be replaced, but we're gonna go to bid at the same time.
Got it, okay.
Okay, and excess cost.
Kind of touched on excess cost earlier. We do have the excess cost numbers. What we've done is kind of extrapolate out what the anticipated impact to the 17-18 budget could potentially be, which is a shortfall of $200,000. We can't tell you what the
Okay,
exact
and
will
again-
be until May when that second payment comes.
Okay, not to be confused with ECS.
That's correct.
Okay. so-
Educational Cost Sharing Grant is the municipal grant that goes to communities. That money is counted in the town's revenue projections. The excess cost money is reimbursement for special education funds. That's based on a report we send to the State Department of all of our qualified costs for education expenses, and then a percentage of that is reimbursed to towns based on the available funds and the kind of lump sum ask of all the communities in Connecticut. They then take that and divide that among the towns based on a percentage of what we applied for.
This one's for special ed?
This is special education
And
reimbursement.
it's
It lives in-
trending.
And it lives in
Yeah.
our revenue,
Mhm.
and it's trending right now $200,000 short
For this year?
for this year.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions?
Just to know, I believe in this budget, we are, or last year, or I should say, the last reduction we had was, what, about 270,000?
Correct.
Mhm. And this board made adjustments for that last year.
Correct.
We budgeted approximately $300,000 less than we budgeted last year in anticipation of shortfall. That being said, we are now saying that the shortfall may be as much as $500,000 less than last year. There are a couple of moving parts in that, but that's the
Yeah.
reality that we face between now and June 30th.
Okay, and capital reserve.
Capital reserve, there was a comment made at the budget presentation of $100,000 of our capital reserve account that lives in town coffers or belongs to the town. Our finance director and the town finance director are in the process of kind of auditing that account, tying the pieces together, and it's my expectation that in April at operations, we'll be able to have a memo that ties out those pieces and clarifies that statement.
Thank you. And the Board of Education 18-19 budget update.
So as
You can have that one.
As mentioned earlier this evening, the Board of Finance has set 2 meeting dates. April 9th would be the public hearing, and April 11th is the Board of Finance deliberations. Currently, the budget reduction to the Board of Ed is 0. And so that is a conversation that we are now having both internally and externally. And a 0% increase means that all of our contractual obligations have to be met with offsets in other areas. How we meet those offsets will be an ongoing conversation. And as you heard before, there are community members who feel that that cut may be extreme and have been reaching out to the Board of Finance and to the Town Council to discuss that cut.
And if there are any other questions or comments you might have regarding the budget, because it's such a huge part of what we do, please feel free to contact the central office with your questions. Don't wait for a meeting or something like that. That's okay.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
please.
Okay, so we can have that information flow going. And that looks like about it. And now if I could entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Any discussion? Those in favor? And thank you, everybody.